So it's been kind of saving his holiday.
Do you need some money? So today's the last day before I go back to work tomorrow. It's Monday, so technically I think a lot of people have gone back today, but I don't work Mondays, so it's just going to be a bit of a reset today, I think. Resting as much as possible, but also there's a few things that I want to do, a few bits in the house after coming back from being up north on Saturday. Putting a wash on. We took the tree down yesterday, which was really good. I hate having the tree up longer than it needs to be. In the new year, I just want to get it down. Just having my little Weetabix, making my cup of tea, and do a little bit of journaling, a little bit of reading. We will probably, oh, who's RSVP'd? Woo! It's so fun. We're getting married this year, in case anyone didn't know. Me and Ben are getting married in May. The invites all went out just before Christmas, so we've been getting RSVPs into my email, and it's so exciting whenever I see one. I'm like, oh, they're definitely coming, that's nice. It's getting very real now. But yes, anyway, that's what I'm going to do this afternoon, and then there's an Asda shop, and then I've got therapy, and then I'm going to try and cook this evening. I've not been able to cook really very regularly for quite a while now. Ben has had to step in and do lots for me, which is really good, and I'm really lucky that I have someone who is willing to do that, even though cooking is not his preferred chore at all. But we got a new cookbook for Christmas, which I'm sure a lot of you would have seen lots of different versions of the roasting tin. I've used the green roasting tin and the original roasting tin, and I really like them. But we got the quick roasting tin, which is perfect because, to be honest, both of us really struggle. Like after a long day of working and all of that, like the last thing you really want to be doing is be like slaving away over a meal for like an hour plus. So those are like one pan dishes that are really easy. So I'm gonna go sit down because I've been stood up for a bit too long. Let's go and sit soft, shall we? I've got you in the cupboard. Just while I make a little snack plate for myself, which is quite exciting. Some grapes. Very weird, but I really like tomato juice. I've recently gotten back into it, but the reason why I really like it is because my granddad used to drink it. My grandparents in general always had tomato juice in the fridge. And I don't know now if that's because he's drinking Bloody Marys or if like he just was really like tomato juice. I don't know where that came from. I need to maybe ask my nana. But I really like tomato juice because it reminds me of him. Just so fresh. These rice cakes just are making it, the whole thing, look ridiculous, but I think that's a pretty decent plate. Yummy! Here I am again at my desk. Ugh, it does not feel good. For me, any work day takes quite a lot of, not necessarily planning, but just I have to work very hard to make it through the day in a way that is like safe and sustainable, and I don't always do it, and I've still not really found the right way of setting up my day so that I have the best chance of getting through it in one piece. I'm getting there, I'm really making a lot of progress with it, but it is just such a fine art, and there's a lot of variables that aren't in my control at work, obviously, so, but then there's a lot of variables that are in my control, so it's quite difficult because there's lots of things I can do, but then there's some things which are really like not movable or not flexible. In between meetings, I've planned in lots of breaks, and I'm already thinking about what I'm going to do on those breaks. Whether I might do some meditation, like join a live stream for some tapping or some, a live stream meditation or something. Or I might sit outside on the bench for a little bit, depending on the weather, although I'm supposed to do it every day, regardless of the weather. Making sure I have time where I will make food, and just like being quite aware of where those gaps are. But I'm here with my sad lamp on, and I've got a meeting in 5 minutes, so I'm just gonna get all my things together for that and get ready to actually speak to colleagues for the first time in weeks. Like, I've just not had to do any of this shit, and it's been so nice. The bill's got to be paid somehow, so yeah, that's all right, and we'll just keep it moving in a mindful and considered way. Just having my little lunch here at my desk. A bit later than I would have liked, but the meeting's got a bit in the way today. And I had like a lunchtime session thing that I wanted to go to, so it all got a little bit away from me, but it's fine. We're having lunch, and my meeting this afternoon's got cancelled, which is really always good news. I'm just eating leftovers from last night, which is not my normal vibe for lunch. This is probably, I don't know if other people have this, but I really can't stand leftovers. I find them so difficult to eat. even if I, like, no matter how much I enjoyed it on the day that I made it fresh, it's just almost never something that I really like the next day. Like, it's just something about the texture and the taste of things being reheated. I don't know. The exception to that is almost always pasta. And last night I made a really, really, really delicious dish from that roasting tin book that I showed you. It's like a pasta bake, but she used, in her recipe it was tagliatelle, but I had linguine, so I used that. Linguine is probably one of my favourite pasta shapes, actually, so elite. And it was pasta bake, but used linguine, and it was like creamy with creme fraiche and cheese, but also with loads of leeks, mushrooms. I also made a big salad on the side. So yeah, and leftovers, it's actually really delicious. And I've actually been doing really well today. I'm so proud of myself. But I am going out this evening. We're going to watch The Importance of Being Earnest with some friends at the National Theatre. It's really exciting. I've not seen an actual play in a while. And I'm hoping that Chuti Gatwa is on tonight. I think he is. I need to check on Instagram, but I think so. So that's really exciting. I'm looking forward to it. So that's me. So I'm gonna do a couple of more hours of work. I've not really had any time today to actually do any work. I've just been in meetings mostly. So I've got like a little bit of time now to get myself together and actually do some things that have been put on my to-do list today. And then I can log off and get ready to go. So I've just been outside for a little bit of sunshine because the sun's actually out today, which is so nice. I had to wrap up because it was very cold. I've got my whole water bottle here, as always. And it's my lunch break, so I'm just gonna check and see when my next meeting is. So there's something I want to do on my lunch break, which is to hang something up in the bathroom. I should probably wait for Ben to do it, but I don't want to. I want to do it now. We got these really cute tiles from my mum for Christmas, and I want to hang them in the bathroom. So let's do that now. I'll just show you them. These are the ones that she got us. How cute are they? They're from a brand called Story Tiles. Okay, this is the best place I can think to put you. I'm gonna hang them here. I've got all my tools. I'm not very good for doing things properly. I just usually kind of bang a nail into the wall and see what happens, but I do have a leveler. vlog, I just do a quick little chatting section about my reading so far this year, and also a little bit of a recap on where I'm at with my note taking and stuff, because last year I made a video probably just under a year ago, saying that it was my goal in 2024 to be more intentional about my reading, and part of that was to take the time to reflect on my reading more. Yeah, I was a lot more intentional about it in 2024, and I am carrying that through to 2025 with a few lessons learned. So I thought I'd take you through. This is my little house bag, which I got in the Netherlands. It's Miffy, or Nijntje, if you know, you know. I love that she's having a resurgence, but I need people to remember that she is originally a Dutch queen, just like me. Part of one of the things, oh Christ. So last year I had a dedicated notebook for my book notes. I had a Leuchtturm bullet journal, which I filled with all my notes. At the front had a contents page of all the different books I was reading, and then referring to the corresponding page that the review is on. Those are all the books that I read last year, and this is the first time actually succeeding in writing and like notes on every single book that I read. I had a lot more to say about some books than others, which I'm sure you'll understand. Some books were very much like, read it, let it wash over me, enjoy the experience, but it didn't feel a big drive to do a particularly close reading of that book, and there weren't necessarily loads of quotes that really stuck out to me or whatever. And other books I wrote absolutely loads about, and that was absolutely fine. That's one thing that I'm like encouraging more of in 2025, is not to force close reading of a book if I didn't feel like it really inspired me in that way. There were points where this felt a bit like a chore and like something I had to catch up on, and if I was maybe in a bit of a reading slump or not reading books that felt particularly inspiring to me, it was harder to kind of write notes on them and like really reflect on my reading experience, because I didn't really feel like my reading experience was much to write home about. One thing I really struggled with was having a separate notebook for everything. I have my journal, which I write kind of thoughts, feelings, processing things that are happening in my life, and then having my reading journal, and then also I like to have a little notebook where it's more like a commonplace book where I jot things down, like making lists, and oh, I want to remember this, or oh, I saw this and I just quickly want to write it down, or here's a quote or a poem that really meant a lot to me. Here's a word I didn't know before and I want to remember it. So I had basically 3 notebooks that were all separate things but that did overlap, and I was struggling because I couldn't take all 3 with me out with me all the time. You know, it would really get in the way if like I didn't have one of them with me, and then I wouldn't write the thing down, and then that would be lost and it would just be a real shame, and I just felt like all my thoughts were really scattered and I couldn't keep them all in one place. So when I got to probably maybe like September, October, I started thinking ahead already. I started thinking a little bit about how I had been doing my notes and how I'd been doing my writing, and generally like keeping track of all my thoughts, and not feeling quite content with it. And then I started getting loads of targeted ads on Instagram for this brand called Paper Republic, which you've probably heard of. You've probably been targeted by them too. And it works because I did buy one. They are one of the many companies. There's loads of them around. You can find them on Etsy, in stationery shops. This is the one that I went for because this is the ad that I was being served, and I actually quite like the company. I like the videos that they put out. Felt inspired by the way that they make their notebooks and stuff like that. So at the end of the year, I did treat myself to a journal from Paper Republic. They're more kind of like portfolios where you have a leather outside bit, and this is the bit that you'll have forever. This is kind of your forever journal, but then within that you have refills, and you can have as many in there as you want. I've got 3, but I have seen them do their videos where they show you how to add even more. But the thing that I really wanted this for was to basically keep all of my notebooks in one place while still having them as distinct and things not feel really messy, and I could still keep track of everything, but them all be sort of still kept in one place. I actually find buying new journals really anxiety inducing. That's my bird clock. I don't know if you can hear that. It's 12 p.m, 20 owl clock. I find buying new journals really anxiety inducing because part of me wants them all to match and for them to look uniform, but then also I want to have a lovely writing experience. And I just find it really difficult to like choose the right thing. So with this, that's completely removed because I'll just have this one journal forever and it will always look like this. But the inserts can be swapped out for different things. If I don't like lines, if I don't like dots, I can swap them out. So I got the red XL embossed with a little F, which is the initial of my full first name, which is Francisca. I go by Siska most of the time. And then inside it, I got the writer's set, by the way, which kind of like a bundle. It's a bit more expensive, but I think in general, overall, you are saving money by getting it in a bundle. And I just wanted like the full experience, to have all the ribbons and to have all the inserts and like really just set myself up really well. First of all, it comes with this insert, which is kind of like a little place where you can keep all of your special items. And then the first one I've got in here is my commonplace book. I don't know how many pages it is, but it's pretty small, it's pretty thin, dotted, and this is where I make my lists and I copy out poems and just anything that kind of I come upon on my day-to-day that's not related to a book that I'm reading that I want to make a note of and remember. And then I have my reading notes, which is the same type of notebook. It's a little thin one, but it's a striped one. Striped, it's lined, so as you can see it's already pretty full of quotes and thoughts and things. And then at the back, just because these notebooks don't have like a contents page or an index page like the Loitern ones do, I've just been keeping a list at the back because I don't need to think about how many pages to save for my list. So that's what's in the little file holder thing. And then at the back, I've got my actual proper journal, which is a different type of notebook. It's like a lot heftier, a lot more pages. The paper is thicker and like slightly better quality. But this means that I can have everything in one place, and it's so satisfying because I just need to bring this with me. I'm really, really happy with it. I'm loving it so far. So the books that I've read so far this year and kind of the types of notes I've been able to make on them are Private Rites by Julia Armfield. I absolutely loved this. It was so fantastic. I've had it on my Kindle for ages, but I've just been putting off reading it for some reason. I think because I knew I would really love it, and because I know that Julia Armfield's writing is it really transports you, but it's a little bit abstract and a little bit dystopian, and it's just very atmospheric. And so I really wanted to like be in the right headspace to read it. It's about 3 sisters who have pretty difficult relationships with each other and with other people in their lives. They're a pretty dysfunctional family. But to be honest, the writing was just the star of the show. Like, I filled 5 pages with quotes, and that wasn't even every single one that I underlined in the book because there were just too many to write them all. And actually I was feeling like I was basically transcribing the entire book into my notebook, and that just felt a bit silly. So I picked the ones that really stood out to me and really made me, and really also felt to me like they really captured the essence of the book. But her writing is just so like descriptive and so delicious and really evocative, and her writing just like really tickles my brain in a really specific way just because of how true it feels. She just captures something so like essentially and fundamentally like true about what it is to have sisters. She writes from each of their different perspectives and makes them so distinct, but you can still tell that they're related. They share a history and they share a context through their narrative voices, even though they are very, very distinct. Also, simultaneously, she builds this incredibly disturbing and dystopian world, which is basically a world that is completely flooded. It rains almost all the time. Everything, all the infrastructure is kind of like falling apart around them, and everyone is trying their best to rebuild things in a way that means that they can survive like on water essentially. But she just really captured what it does feel like to move through your own personal life shit while also contending with like the world genuinely falling apart around you, and like in a completely different way to what we are experiencing in our lives right now. Like it's a very specific world that she's built, but it doesn't feel that different for you to have your own personal crises and your own relationships falling apart, or while also the world around you is like completely on fire or underwater in this case. I've also been reading the Moomintroll books by Tove Jansson. I love Tove, or Tova. She's an author that I just think can do no wrong in my books. Like she just is fantastic. And last year, towards the end of last year, I was really struggling with not knowing what to read and really wanting something easy and comforting, but also that still felt like had some substance. And so I decided to go back to the Moomin books, and I've been reading them in order. And so I read the third in the series, which is called Finned Family Moomintroll, and it was just so soft and so comforting, and didn't feel like I was reading a children's book at all. It just felt like really simple, yeah, but also like still captured something very beautiful that was still very relevant for me as an adult woman. So that was lovely. Then I also read We Do Not Part by Kang, which was my first of her books. I kind of knew what kind of writing to expect going into it, but I didn't really know anything about the story or anything about her really as an author, the types of things that she writes about, and it was extremely harrowing and extremely raw and like pretty painful imagery at times. It's particularly about the Korean War and the sort of after effects of that, and particularly the way that that generational trauma still manifests even in the lives of younger people who weren't actually there to experience the war, but have kind of carried that through from their parents and their grandparents and those stories that they've collected and passed down. I read it very close to watching the second series of Squid Game, which I thought was really good, but again, very violent, and I didn't watch any of the violent bits, which meant I had my eyes closed for probably about 30% of the show. It was really excellent, but it did sort of bring in an extra layer of context around the violent history of Korea, basically, in South Korea, and the way that that show like is representing that in one way, and then this book was representing it in another way, and like it just kind of built this picture for me of a history that I didn't actually know that much about, which I now know more about because I love to research while I'm reading about things. So yeah, it was really beautiful, very abstract, and very certain points you didn't know what was real, what was a nightmare, what was a memory. The lines got very, very blurred, but still I didn't really feel confused at all, and that was really nice. Like it still felt like you were being sort of guided through something, even though everything, all the boundaries were very blurred and it was quite messy, but still felt extremely readable, basically. And then the book I just most recently finished is Orbital by Samantha Harvey, which won the Booker Prize in 2024. And I was very kindly sent it by my friend Amelia, who works for Vintage Publishing, and got my hands on it, read it pretty much straight away. I was more excited about it at the beginning, and then it is pretty repetitive and it's quite meditative, pretty mesmerizing as well. Like you kind of get lulled into this rhythm. You don't know what it's about. It's about 6 astronauts who are in a spaceship orbiting the Earth, and that's all they do. That's the mission that they're on, is they just orbit the Earth for however many months. And it's all about kind of their experience of that, and also you learn a little bit about the ties that each of the astronauts have to the Earth, like the family that they've left behind or the people that they're connected to there. The repetitive, meditative rhythm of it that you kind of get lulled into, I would imagine, is done to replicate what it must be like to just orbit the Earth. She talks about how a day on Earth is 24 hours, but up there it's not, and so I think it's 16 orbits, maybe? I don't know, 16 orbits in 24 hours, that might be wrong. But obviously they see multiple days and nights within a span of 24 hours, and they see the same countries over and over again like the same map over and over again, but always different in terms of the day and the night and the weather. While it did feel a bit repetitive, and by the end I was kind of like, okay, yeah, we get it. I think that probably also did serve a purpose in sort of like getting you to understand what it must be like up there. And also it was a pretty short book, so it doesn't drone on for absolutely ages. It knows that there's like a time limit to how much you can talk about this stuff for, I suppose. I'm not really like a space person. I know some people absolutely love space and like are really into it, and I'm not really one of those people. So I, again, like was researching a lot and like Googled a million photos of the Earth from space just to kind of visualize what it must be like. That was really, I've never read anything like it before, and that was really special. So yeah, that's what I'm reading and how I'm talking about it and writing about it. I just love having a little collection of all my favorite things that have been written. Really helps solidify a book in my brain. It helps it feel more memorable. I can talk about it easier. I can recommend books a bit more confidently because I like remember the book better. I'm actually also reading, I'm really taking my time with this though. I'm reading like one essay or one poem every few days. I'm reading Winter Hours by Mary Oliver, which is prose, poems and poems. So a whole collection of like different writing by her. I'll end on this because I've been talking for a long time. For Christmas, my little brother Tamar got me, commissioned their friend Sophia to make me a little Kindle cozy which has cloud on it. Cloud lying on a cloud. This is like one of my most prized possessions now. I just absolutely love it. It's so sweet and personal and thoughtful and really beautifully made as well. Like it's all lined and hand stitched, and it just looks exactly like him with his big yellow eyes. These are all the things that I have in my little bag that I take with me around the flat. And yeah, I'll stop there. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you got to the end of it, props to you. Hopefully the next one is not too far off. So I hope you've had a wonderful January and a wonderful start to the year. And if not, there's still so much of the year left. We've got so much time and we're going to be okay. And it's still the winter. So if you are still hibernating, that's totally fine and appropriate. Spring is around the corner. See you soon.